Hey everyone, it's Brian, and if you're listening in real time, there is just 1 week to go until the big day. Yes, we're in the final countdown now. Maybe you've already started some of your food prep, maybe you're getting packed up for your travel plans, or maybe some of your Christmas guests have arrived from out of town. For months now, we've been hearing that it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Well, it's not beginning to look like it anymore, it's beginning to be Christmas, and it's time to savor every precious moment while it lasts. And when family and friends come together this time of year, playing games is among the most popular ways to bond and have fun together. And what better kind of game than a game of Christmas trivia? Well, that's what brings us together today and tomorrow. In a first here on Christmas Past, we're doing a special doubleheader. 2 back-to-back games of Christmas trivia for the Christmas Past family. Today, the name of the game is 2 Truths and a Lie. This is the game where a topic is introduced, followed by 3 statements related to that topic, one of which is a lie. Your job is to test your Christmas knowledge and deception detection skills. And tomorrow the name of the game is Sheperdy, a Jeopardy-inspired game where the questions get harder as the point value increases. Today and tomorrow playing with me is Rachel from New York, longtime friend of the show, Christmas cookie baking powerhouse, and a big Christmas trivia enthusiast. So get ready to match wits with us as we begin this first installment of this special Christmas trivia doubleheader. Put your Christmas spirit to the test with this game of 2 Truths and a Lie. Rachel, welcome back to Christmas Past.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me. Hi, Christmas Past family.
Yes, hello, Christmas Past family. And as we go through our little 2 Truths and a Lie game, we'll get a chance to know Rachel a little bit better. But for now, why don't we get right to the good stuff before I need to set up the game for you. 2 Truths and a Lie is a game where I will introduce a topic and then give 3 statements on that topic. 2 of them are true, and 1 of them is completely made up. One thing that I'll assure you is that if a statement is false, it's completely false. Not that I took a true statement and changed one little thing about it in an effort to trip you up. False statements are totally made up by me. And for this game only, all statements have to do with Christmas in the 1970s. Now, I don't suppose Rachel is fortunate enough to have experienced any part of the 1970s, but I sure have, and I am a better man for it. Christmas in the 70s was wonderful. And again, Rachel, this is more about you seeing if you can spot my lie, if you can pick up my tell on a lie, and just to have some fun talking about some fun Christmas history. Are you ready to give this a try?
I'll do my best. I mean, I was born in 83, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I'll do my best.
I don't know if I've ever admitted my age on the show, but I'm 47. I was born in 1974. And so I would say spent about half of my childhood in the mid to late 70s and the other half in the 80s. By the time I was a teen or too cool for school, the 90s were approaching, and the 90s weren't a very good Christmas decade anyhow. So I don't remember most of the stuff I'm going to be talking about, but there's probably pictures of me with some of the things that we'll be referring to. And the first question has to do with the game Simon. Now, you know that one, right?
I do know Simon.
It's the 4 little colors and they do patterns that you have to match. Well, in 1978, that was one of the top selling Christmas toys on the market. Okay, now that's true. Here are 3 statements. See if you can spot the false one.
Okay.
First, there was a copycat version of the product that hit the market, and it was called literally Copycat. Statement number 2, Jimmy Carter famously gave one to Egyptian President Anwar Sadat while visiting that country. Okay. Or 3, its inventor is the same man behind what's considered the first video game console.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm feeling like the first statement that's called copycat. That sounds a little iffy to me. I'm going to go with the first one.
You think that's the false one?
That's the false one. That copycat game was called Copycat.
Okay, well, score 1 for Brian the liar, because one's totally true. It was that Jimmy Carter gave one to Anwar Sadat.
I thought that would be kind of interesting. I kind of wanted that to be true.
And it's also true that the inventor is also the inventor of the first video game console. For a bonus point, which you're not going to get, but let's have some fun with it. Do you know the name of that video game console?
It's not the Atari, is it?
It was simply called the Brown Box.
Oh, wow. And that must have been ancient.
Can you guess why it was called the Brown Box?
Was it because it was a box and it was brown?
Both of those are true, yes. So you've redeemed yourself. You got some part of the question. As we move on to question number 2. Now this is where I benefit from having been a 70s child. I have lots of those storybook records, vinyl records that tell stories.
I do too. I love it.
And so back in the 70s, The $6 Million Man starring Lee Majors was a big, big show. And there's actually a record with 4 stories, Christmas stories involving the $6 Million Man.
Okay.
I'm going to read and describe 3 stories, but one of them I totally made up.
Okay.
First one, a story called Short Circuit Santa, in which a villain kidnaps Santa to try to steal his Christmas magic and replaces him with a robot clone. Or is it 2, Elves Revolt, in which Santa's elves stage a labor strike and hire an enforcer to imprison Santa Claus?
Ooh.
Or number 3, Christmas Lights, in which scientists discover that the Star of Bethlehem was actually an alien message encoded in a supernova.
Oh, geez.
Now, 2 of those are actually true, let me remind you.
Yeah, I know. And they're all really good. Wow, I'm almost leaning towards the second one.
The labor shortage?
The labor shortage, just because it wasn't as fantastical and sciencey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, final answer, I guess.
I'm sorry. You have yet to score a point. It was the Short Circuit Santa
Brian,
one.
you should have set me up with the 90s Christmas. I could have nailed that.
Next time. I'm sure there are a lot of 70s Christmas people listening who may or may not recognize some of these things.
So which one was the lie?
The lie was the Short Circuit Santa, the one where someone replaces Santa with a robot clone.
Oh, but I thought that was perfect. That would have been a great one.
We can write that story together and record it.
There we go.
Okay, so let's stay on old school records. Peter Pan. Okay. Do you remember Peter Pan records?
I do.
They published all of these, and they had a bunch of originals too. So, some of them were brands. I think they also put out the famous Disney Mickey Mouse Carol, but they came up with their own stuff. And they were not averse to putting out knockoff sounding Christmas characters. So these are 3 records with characters that sound like kind of knockoffs of well-known Christmas characters, one of which I just made up. Was it Friendly the Snowman? Or was it The Grouch Who Stole Christmas? Or Richard the Sharp-Eared Reindeer?
Oh, wow. Richard the Sharp-Eared Reindeer sounds terrible. What was the first one that was a knockoff of Frosty?
Friendly the Snowman.
Friendly the Snowman. Oh, God. I hate that I'm completely guessing these. I'm going to go with the Sharp-Eared Reindeer. That sounds awful.
And you think that's the false one?
The false one.
I'm sorry. It was The Grouch Who Stole Christmas. That was the false one. Richard the Sharp-Eared Reindeer is an actual, and I have all of these, but this is how I know these for these questions.
And these are Peter Pan records?
Yep, it's a Peter Pan record and storybook. The kind that says, when you hear the chimes ring, it's time to turn the page.
Turn the record.
And so Richard the Sharp-Eared Reindeer is, as you might imagine, a reindeer named Richard who has supersonic hearing.
Oh, that's not the kind of sharp I was envisioning. I was envisioning really pointy ears.
His ears are pointy, but that's not what makes them sharp in the world of Richard the Sharp-Eared Reindeer. Okay. So again, don't feel bad because it's all about spotting the lie, not knowing the answer.
Sure. And this is the problem is I'll listen to the show and I'll do awesome. I'll do so awesome. And now I'm like, you really have honed your skill in creating some very truthfully sounding lies.
Yeah, and the secret, I don't know what the secret is. It does take time to get them to sound consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4, Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano. Okay, yes. Here are 3 statements about that. Number 1, it didn't make it onto the Billboard chart until 1998. And let me back up. It actually came out in 1970, the song.
Right.
Number 2, in 1980, the song was covered by a band from Estonia, but the cover was not intended as a Christmas song. Or statement 3, Feliciano admitted in an interview that the lyrics were only intended to be placeholders, but the label insisted on releasing the song as is.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. The first one, what was the first one again?
That it didn't make it onto the Billboard chart until 1998.
I feel like I'm going to go with that one. Because, I mean, everybody knows Feliz Navidad. I had the record, the Avon record. Mm-hmm. With Dolly Parton and I had that record and it was on there.
Well, I'll give you a point for being consistent in that it was actually that the lyrics were intended as placeholders. That's the false one.
Really?
And you know what inspired that? Have you seen the new Beatles documentary?
Yes.
Get Back. And you see their songwriting process where they play and they just kind of like mouth nonsense lyrics until like they, and so that's a very common thing. And there actually is precedent for that. That song that's like na 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 hey hey
yeah,
that's the story behind that they were just saying nonsense stuff while they were coming up with the real lyrics, but then the record label just released it that way.
I was kind of leaning to that one, but I didn't want to believe it to be true because it's so good. Come on, it's so good. It's perfect.
But I do love that Beatles documentary.
It's intense, and watching it all like unfold before your eyes is crazy because these lyrics forward and backwards, and they just kind of come together.
I think there you go. What I like about it is most documentaries, you have like a voiceover and then you go to like some talking head who's given context and then you go to a clip, blah, blah. This is none of that. Like you're just sitting in the room with them, watching them create.
I know, it's kind of eerie.
It's like
we're watching something we shouldn't be watching.
In a way, it does feel like that, especially
invasive,
when they kind of get snippy with one another. But I do say the episodes I feel like are a little too long. I can only watch about...
The whole thing is very long. Yeah. My husband is a big fan, so we've been watching that a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just absolutely love the Beatles. So I subscribe to Disney Plus for that purpose alone.
I saw that, yeah.
Speaking of Disney... Oh, no, we're not going to get to a Disney song.
I am feeling so bad. I want to get one right. I just gotta get one right.
Maybe you can get this one right.
Okay.
But speaking of the Beatles, our next song has to do with Paul McCartney, who wrote...
Simply
very well known,
a wonderful Christmas time.
That's in the 70s. That's from 1979. And here are 3 statements about that song. Okay. Even to this day, Paul McCartney earns several $100,000 a year off the song. Or is it number 2? In a book about Paul McCartney, the author questions what the song even has to do with Christmas. Or number 3, according to Paul McCartney himself, the song took over a week to write.
I kind of feel like number 2, where they question what it even has to do with Christmas. I'm feeling that. What was number 3? It took over a week to write?
It took over a week to write.
Gosh, it doesn't really feel like the kind of song that would take that long. Okay, I'm going to go with number 3. I'm going to switch my answer.
Okay, that is allowed.
That sucker did not take a week to write.
Very good. You're on the board with 1 point.
I got one.
And in fact, it was the opposite. He said he wrote it in 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It kind of feels like a 10-minute song. Sorry, Paul.
Well, that was the thing. The irony would have been if that was something that he had obsessed over, and then the result was that song.
It'd be like, it's all right, but it's not a long
I don't think it deserves all the hate that it gets. Like, it's not my favorite Christmas song.
I don't hate it in the least. No, I don't hate it in the least.
But no, one of his biographers did say, what does the song even have to do with Christmas? Because he says, the word Christmas time is in it and there's a choir. But the rest of it is like, the moon is out, the feelings, right? It's not very Christmassy, the lyrics. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I have 15 questions for you. We just completed 5. So let's call that the end of the first of 3 rounds. Okay.
Okay.
So we can take a little break in between rounds. Get a chance to know Rachel better, who's recently done a lot of cookie baking there in New York.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
What kind of cookies did you make?
So I made chocolate chip cookies, obviously, but that's kind of the filler, because I also do the cut out sugar cookies and I frost them and it takes me hours and hours. It's like art.
Yeah.
And then I also do these cream cheese poinsettias. I have a cookie gun and it like squirts the cookie dough on the pan. And then I put a maraschino cherry in there. And that's kind of what I do for just the neighborhood. I put them on plates and deliver around to the neighbors.
Yeah, my mom had one of those cookie guns. She made anise and some other almond. Yeah, they're the best.
Yes.
And she would put green and red food coloring into them, so there'd be different colors. But yeah, so I saw pictures of the cookies that you made and the frosting, the way that you do it. Like, I don't know if there's like a word for the style of that kind of frosting, but it has like this, I don't know how to describe it, very like authentic, homey look to it, which is a compliment because I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I just slather it on there and put some sprinkles. So it's nothing wild and crazy, but I try to make them all a little bit different.
Yeah. So my Christmas baking this year, all I've made is cinnamon almonds, the kind that we get at the Great Dickens Christmas Fair here in the Bay Area. They published the recipe last year when they had to cancel because of COVID. Yeah. And they're surprisingly easy to make. And oh my goodness, they are wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so later today, I'm going to try to make a Christmas pudding. Now, last year, I tried making one according to this famous 1845 recipe that came out right after Charles Dickens made the Christmas pudding, basically a famous Christmas item. And it was okay, but it was so boozy. You have to put a lot of cognac into it.
Yeah.
And
because you want to set it on fire, right?
Well, so you can do that afterwards if you douse the outside of it, and you can light that on fire. But this, you actually put booze into the concoction and let it steam. And I like fruit cakes that have like a little bit of that like liquor flavor, but the idea is it's supposed to mix with the other flavors and be subtle and sort of like bring out all of the other stuff going on, and not just like taste like alcohol, right? And so this pudding that I made last year just tasted overly boozy. So I want to try something different this year, and I'm not doing a traditional one. I'm doing one that Jamie Oliver had on his website.
Well, you can't go wrong then, right?
It won't be traditional, but it'll probably be good.
Okay.
So are you ready for another round of fun and excitement here?
Maybe I'll get more than one this round. We'll have to see.
So in this round, we're going to start off with a question about TV specials from the 1970s.
Okay.
And there are lots of different kinds of specials. This was a golden age of variety programming, as where I don't know if you remember, you probably don't, shows like Solid Gold or things like that, where variety shows, you'd have like a musician.
Yeah,
and
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about one of those in this question. Oh, okay. So here are 3 TV specials from the 1970s.
Okay.
Number 1, Benji's Very Own Christmas Special. And just to set the context for people who don't know, Benji was a famous movie dog from Benji's Very Own Christmas Special, in which Santa Claus performs a musical number. Was it number 2, Christmas with the Blue Oyster Cult? Or number 3, A Very Merry Cricket, a cartoon in which a cat, a mouse, and a cricket attempt to save Christmas?
I don't know if the Blue Oyster Cult would do a Christmas special. I mean, when I think of like variety shows, I think of like, Sonny and Cher, Carol Burnett kind of thing.
It was the 70s.
I think I'm going to go with the Blue Oyster Cult and do a Christmas special.
Okay, well, good for you. That's 2 questions right. That was the false one in this case.
Yay.
Yeah. But now we have to talk about, if we're going to talk about the 70s and Christmas, eventually we need to talk about the Star Wars Holiday Special, which came out in 1978 and is widely regarded as one of the worst things ever put on television. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I was when I was a kid. I had all the Star Wars toys. As an adult, I'm not into it, but I decided I was going to try to watch it, just ironically. We've got Disney Plus now, so yeah. And you can't even sit through. Like, I can't even get through the first 10 or 15 minutes of it. Really, I just can't. Like, even watching it ironically, I just can't do it. But let me read you 3 statements about the Star Wars Holiday Special and see if you can spot the lie. Statement number 1, in an uncredited cameo, NFL star Mean Joe Green appears as a Wookiee. Number 2, a scene featuring Darth Vader talking to an officer on the Death Star is actually footage cut from the 1978 movie, A New Hope. Okay. Or, was that 1978? Well, this first Star Wars. Yeah. Or statement number 3, one of the writers actually admitted to being high on cocaine while writing the special.
Oh, boy. I don't think you would make that part up, Brian. I kind of want to go. The first one was an uncredited football player.
Yeah, Mean Joe Green appears in a Wookiee costume, but you don't know it's him.
Okay, and the second one was
the scene featuring Darth Vader talking to an officer was actually footage cut from the actual movie.
I think I'm gonna go with that one. I'm gonna go with the footage cut from a movie was not true.
It sounds like your first instinct was the Mean Joe Green one, and that was the false one.
Oh, it was so like detailed. Like you had the name of the guy, you had the character. I thought for sure that was true.
That was hard for me to write because I don't even I barely understand like how football works. Like I don't know anything. I tried to like Google like who are 70s football players. Okay, well here's another one. Question number 8. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. You know that song?
Yep.
One of my least favorite. Okay, well, this part is true. The song was introduced in 1978 by a couple who did hotel gigs on the side for fun. And the gig in question was actually in Tahoe, so not too far from where I am right now. Okay. Here are 3 statements about the song. Number 1, the husband, who was a veterinarian, sold his veterinary hospital to finance a music video for the song. Oh, Number 2, St. Nicholas Music Incorporated, which is the publisher that owns the rights to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, filed a lawsuit claiming that the song's negative depiction of Christmas reindeer was damaging to its brand. Or number 3, the Grey Panthers, an organization that combats ageism, once called out the song for being ageist.
I feel like number 2.
Is the false one.
Is the false one. I don't think the record company is real.
Okay, well, that's another one for you then. And
hey,
is that 3 or 4?
No, I think it's 3 total.
Okay, well, good enough. St. Nicholas Music Incorporated is the actual publishing company that owns the rights to Rudolph. Like that part.
See, that sounded silly to me. That sounded really.
Okay, let's see. Question number 9 is about Black Christmas, a 1974 slasher movie. Have you ever heard of that one?
Ooh, I have heard of that one. They just did a remake, didn't they?
Yeah, back in 2019, I believe.
Yeah, like college girls or something getting murdered.
Yeah, I think it was on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so let me read you 3 statements about that and see if you can. Oh, okay. So also to set the context, this was also directed by Bob Clark, who did A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that part's true. So here are the 3
movie.
statements, and you'll see if you can spot the lie. Number 1, it was one of the highest grossing movies in 1974. Number 2, the star, Olivia Hussey, decided to take the role after her psychic advised her to. Or number 3, Gilda Radner was originally part of the cast, but had to drop out to start her role on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, I have to go with number 3 because I worship Gilda and I don't want her to be anything part of that terrible movie.
I'm sorry, but that was she. I don't know if she started filming or if she was just attached to the project or something like that, but that part, according to IMDb anyway.
My lovely queen, no.
I know, she was amazing.
Oh, she's fantastic.
It was actually the highest grossing, one of the highest grossing movies of 1974. That was also the year that
me to believe.
Chinatown, Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. It was nowhere near one of the highest grossing movies of 1974.
Yeah. I heard that one and I'm like, oh, that could be like a tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
You're tricking me because it seems so obvious that would not be the highest grossing movie. Whatever.
This is how we play the game.
I know you're so tricky,
multiple
Brian
psychos.
Come on.
And the audience obviously cannot see what I'm seeing right now, but I'm seeing a cat peeking into the back of Rachel's.
That's Luna. She's
screen.
Trouble. She's going to knock my board over on me here in a minute. I'm sure of it.
Okay. Question number 10 has to do with the pet rock. Have you ever heard of the pet rock?
I have heard of the pet rock.
It was a short-lived fad from 1975, and it lasted long enough to become a popular Christmas item in Christmas of 1975. Here are 3 statements about the pet rock. Spot the lie. Number 1, it came with a training manual. Number 2, they came available with or without googly eyes. Or number 3, the creator made millions and used the money to open a bar.
I think number 2. I do not think they came with googly eyes. I think the whole idea was to just be a rock. With zero personality.
Right. That was the fake one. They did not come with googly eyes, although I've seen plenty of pictures of people putting googly eyes on.
Oh, sure. I'm sure everybody could just dress it up however they'd like, but no, And
the inventor, he made a bunch of money and opened a bar in Los Gatos, California, which is 2 towns over from where I am. It's not around anymore, but yeah.
Well, God bless him. I mean, it's kind of silly how he made his money, but he made his money.
He was in advertising. I think he was doing okay to begin with, but that was one of those things where like he just made a ton of money within a single year. And then basically it was like, okay, cashing in.
Okay, be done.
Okay, so that was question number 10. So I guess we are arbitrarily at the end of what we're going to call round 2 of this game. Okay. And I think you're on the board with 3 or 4 points.
I think I've got 4 points.
I'm a very bad scorekeeper. It's not about keeping score in this game. It's just about having fun. Right. So what are your plans for Christmas this year?
Well, last year we had to cancel all the friend parties, but this year we have a lineup. We've got one on Friday this coming week, one on Saturday, then Christmas Eve at my in-laws, Christmas Day or Christmas morning at my parents, then Christmas night at my extended families. We're doing it up this year. We're vaccinated. Even my kid is vaccinated, and we're just trying to make the most of it, even though there's a slight uptick in New York State. But there's I think a slight uptick almost everywhere. I think a lot of families are making up for lost time. And now, Brian, you're headed home this year? Are you coming back east?
No, we will sometime within the next year, but not for Christmas. And that's partly because around August, which was when the time we were going to start looking at flights, et cetera, is when the Delta variant surge came. And so we thought twice about that. Dash is too young to get vaccinated. And he's at the age where he just crawls around and puts everything in his mouth. So, we knew if anything at all catchy was going around, he would almost certainly get it.
Pick it up.
New parents, we just really weren't up for the risk. So, there will be time for all of that, but not this Christmas, unfortunately. Let's go back into round 3, the final round. So I have 5 more questions for you. And we're going to start with one of my favorite Christmas songs, Merry Christmas, Darling by the Carpenters. You know that one?
Oh, Karen Carpenter passed away the day I was born.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. My grandmother loved the Carpenters. Yeah.
I mean, easily one of the best voices of that era, just like this perfect contralto voice.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I mean, just
we
really lost her too
slow
soon.
Vibrato. It was.
Yeah. Here are 3 statements about that song.
Okay.
Number 1, Elvis Presley planned on releasing a cover of the song, but he gave up on the idea after it turned out he couldn't learn how to play it. Number 2, the lyrics for the song were actually given to the Carpenters by one of their music professors who had written them decades earlier. Or number 3, the line, "In my dream, I'm Christmasing with you," is thought to be what prompted Webster's dictionary to add Christmas as a verb to its 1973 edition.
I'm kind of torn between Elvis and Christmasing. I don't think Christmas is a verb in Webster's dictionary. Oh, okay. I think I'm going to go with number 3. I don't think Christmas is a verb.
And you are correct.
Yay!
Although, I mean, I guess it's in the same way that, summer could be a verb, as in I'll be summering.
Right, we're summering Elvis this year. Yeah. I mean, you can make anything a verb if you really try hard enough, but it doesn't belong in the dictionary that way.
And in my most recent episode on chestnuts, we were talking about how chestnutting was a verb, meaning like to go, the same as going apple picking, like to go pick chestnuts was to go chestnutting. And so, I don't know, maybe Elvis wasn't a skilled musician, but he couldn't figure out how to play it. Well, I'm a very, very bad pianist. And so I have a bunch of, like a bunch of music books. And I have the sheet music for Merry Christmas, Darling. And I do know that it has a lot of, 7th chords and things like that, like a little more complex harmonies. Maybe that's what he was having trouble with, but I don't know.
Maybe. The Carpenters are very talented musicians. So
yeah. Well, they went to school for it. They were like actual music students.
Yeah. And Karen was a drummer, which is super
I
cool.
know. Yeah. Did she sing and drum at the same time?
Yeah.
Like Phil Collins style?
Yeah. She was very talented.
So here's question number 12. This is one of my favorite things about researching those backstory episodes is I read like old newspapers and as part of the way that I research. So as part of the outtakes of my research this year, I wrote a question for you based on reading the Santa Cruz Sentinel newspaper. This is an edition that I read from Christmas Eve of 1977. I'm going to describe 3 articles that appeared in the newspaper that day, one of which is something I made up. So is it number 1, an article claiming that the Yule log actually comes from Persia? Number 2, an article to help grandparents know which disco records to buy their grandkids? Or number 3, an article about how 1,200 pounds of Christmas mail was abandoned on a mountaintop?
Oh, I really don't think the Yule log originated in Persia. I don't think that's a thing. I'm going to go with the first one.
I'm sorry to say. And so let's see. Maybe I'll give you partial credit for that because you're right. But the article said that it was.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Oh, darn.
Usually nowadays, when you say Persia, you always put in parentheses, like roughly modern day Iran, right? Like there is no country called Persia. But it said it was a Persian tradition. And it was a really short article. And I don't really know. It was like one of those little like things to fill up an inch of column space. And the mail being lost, it wasn't in Santa Cruz. It was like an Associated Press article about how a cargo plane, it crashed. And among other things, it was really like they were not talking about the most important thing because like a plane crashed and I think some people died.
Let's talk about that.
But then they're also like, and by the way,
our presents. Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. So we've already talked about some records from the 70s, but we haven't talked about like novelty records, which were a big thing back in the day. Yeah. So in 1976, 2 of these records came out and one of them didn't. See if you can spot the lie. Okay. Was it number 1, Santa is a bionic man? And in that song, Santa is a bionic man.
A bionic man.
Number 2, CB Santa Claus, in which Santa needs to recruit a trucker to help him deliver toys after his reindeer are incapacitated. Or
Oh,
number 3, Stuntman Santa, in which Santa's Christmas Eve mission turns into an action-packed obstacle course.
okay. I'm feeling like the CB Santa is true
Okay.
because I feel like my husband has shown me records from the 70s where they're like truckers.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Stuntman Santa. I don't think it was
Correct. That is the false one. Yay. Okay, 2 more to go.
Okay.
We're back to the storybook records from the 70s. This is another one that I own that includes stories that feature Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, including which of these? Number 1, The Prisoner of Christmas Island, in which someone uses a nuclear submarine to melt an ice cap at the North Pole and kidnap Santa Claus.
Wow.
Or
intense.
Was it Terror in the Night Sky, in which someone has commandeered Santa's sleigh and reindeer intent on dropping bombs all over the world in a single night?
Oh my God.
Or number 3, Light Up the Tree, Mr. President, in which at the White House, the Christmas tree lighting, the button used to turn on the tree lights is secretly wired to missile launchers intended to start World War III.
Oh, okay. All right. That last one sounds superhero-y. It's got to be either the first one or the second one. The first one with the melting of the ice caps and Christmas Island, that's really detailed. I'm thinking I'm going to go with number 1. It's the first one.
The false one was number 2, the dropping bombs out of Santa's sleigh.
Okay.
But even the other true ones, it's kind of, those are both true. There's a kid story from 1977 about
dropping bombs.
Someone trying to start World War III.
Oh gosh.
I remember growing up, it was maybe the early 80s, those movies about like Russia invading America, like Red Dawn. I spent a lot of time being freaked out about that when I was a kid.
Being scared of war. Jeez.
Okay, here's your final question. And it has to do with probably my favorite Christmas special of all, or one of them anyway, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Oh, I love Emmett Otter. Oh, we were just watching it the other day.
They're doing a stage show. There's like a play, and that it's getting a reboot.
Okay.
Like someone signed on in 2019 to redo it, and I don't know. This is one of those ones it's fine.
I know. Why do you have to mess with perfection? I mean, it's Paul Williams, right? He wrote all the music.
Is it? I don't know.
I think it's Paul Williams, and he did the music for the Muppets Christmas Carol too. And it's just perfection as far as music goes. Love it.
I just did a backstory episode about the Cinnamon Bear, which is this 1937 radio serial. And then this year, Audible.com did a reboot, revamp, reimagining, whatever, with Alan Cumming and Ryan Reynolds. And, I'm curious to check it out, but there was nothing wrong with the 1937.
Right.
It doesn't need a reboot. And that's
are there really no more new ideas? We have to just keep rebooting everything.
I think it's just, if you can get a bunch of celebrities involved with something, it'll, generate some
drum up
buzz.
Nostalgia and sell tickets because people want to feel nostalgic.
But if you listen to the 1937 original, surprisingly, there is only one anachronism in that. Like one thing that you're like, wait, what is that? That sounds kind of old timey. Is that the girl wants a velocipede for Christmas, and it's like a precursor to a modern bicycle.
Oh,
but there's nothing else in it that you just what is that? That must be some old timey thing I don't understand.
Right.
It's just a story. Anyone could follow it. And so I don't think it needed an update.
No.
Okay, let's talk about Emmett Otter. Here are 3 statements about Emmett Otter. Harvey the Beaver is one of the members of the Jug Band, and for the puppet, his beaver teeth are actual beaver teeth. That's statement number 1. Okay. Number 2, the original version included an appearance from Kermit the Frog. Or statement number 3, a song written for the special, Where the River Meets the Sea, was actually played at Jim Henson's funeral.
Oh, geez. Oh, I do not think that the beaver teeth were real beaver teeth.
And you are correct.
Yes.
And
yes.
So this was, I felt a little guilty about this question because what I said at the beginning is that when a statement's false, it's totally false. I'm not taking a true one and changing something.
Right, and bending it to make it sound a little bit true.
And this one is iffy because all of that is true. The beaver teeth weren't, but the porcupine, Wendell the porcupine.
I was just thinking about that. Were those quills real?
Was made with actual porcupine quills. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked pretty real.
Okay, so you got that one right. So I think you got like 6 or 7, or I don't know. Let's just say
Yay.
you did wonderfully. For a
Sure,
bonus
I did.
point, in Emmett Otter's
okay.
Jug Band Christmas, what is the name of Emmett Otter's Jug Band?
Oh, geez. Oh, I can't tell you. I know that there was the River Bottom Nightmare Band, but I'm sorry. I have no clue.
It was actually the Frogtown Hollow Jubilee Jug Band.
There you go. Perfect.
You know, and I want to say that
everybody could remember that.
The bad guys, the River Bottom boys.
Yeah, they were cool though.
They were cool, but they are the one thing that is always going to identify that special as from the 70s. Because if you take out everything else, you know, it's just like this timeless story. And then all of a sudden there's like an Alice Cooper concert in it.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to just being, you know, this like little, you know, otters on the river kind of thing.
Sweet little country otters.
Yeah.
And now it was based on Gift of the Magi, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was actually based on a children's book, but the story is, you know, has that kind of motif where each of them gives up something important to give a gift to the other, but then they realize that, yeah. All right. Well, this concludes our game of 2 Truths and a Lie. Thank you so much, Rachel, for playing.
Oh, thanks, Brian. It's always a pleasure.
So, how did you do? Well, depending, tomorrow is either your chance to extend your winning streak or redeem yourself. Either way, there's much more fun and Christmas spirit on tap. Tomorrow, the tables are turned when Rachel plays Quizmaster to me in a game of Sheperdy. I hope to see you tomorrow, and until then, let me remind you that Christmas Past is produced in wonderful Willow Glen, California by yours truly, Brian Earl. Thanks so much to Rachel in New York, and thank you as always for listening. Let's stay connected for the time remaining in the season and beyond. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to join our private Christmas Past Facebook group if you haven't yet. And even though time is winding down, there is still time for you to share a Christmas memory to appear in one of our remaining episodes. But at this point, you do have to hurry. Just record yourself speaking into your phone's voice memo app and send it to christmaspastpodcast@gmail.com. Keep it reasonably short, clean, and family-friendly, and be sure to say your name and where you're from. And if you're really feeling the Christmas spirit, why not help more people discover the show? It's as easy as telling a friend about it or leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. If you do leave a review, I'll send you a Christmas Past sticker, and a handwritten Christmas card is my way of saying thanks. Reach out for details on that. Until tomorrow, may your days be merry and bright.